Hey guys, Shawn Sampson with Here's the Thing Auto here for you. I wanted to talk to you a bit today about the Civic Type R. Reason being, we had news come down Monday morning through our usual sources that the Civic Type R did the Nürburgring in 7 minutes 43.8 seconds. That makes it the current record holder, current title holder for fastest front-wheel drive car around the Nürburgring. Now, that replaces the GTI Club Sport S, which replaced the former Type R. Of course, there's the Renault Megane also in there. And if you go back about 10 years, the Cobalt SS Turbo was actually the holder for a few months even as well. So there's been a lot of changes in that segment over the last few years. A lot of people are saying that the Type R is going to be a car that's not worth the money just simply because it doesn't have all-wheel drive. Now, this time around the Nürburgring is faster than the competitive set, the all-wheel drive competitive set that the Civic is going to have. You start talking about the Golf R, the STI, the Focus RS, it's faster than all of them around the Nürburgring, and that goes back to Honda's original mission. The SI is supposed to be the sharpest, most track-ready of the entry-level sport compact cars. The Type R is supposed to be the sharpest, most track-ready of all of the elite sport compact vehicles. And it is. It is. Honda just proved that. A lot of people are saying, oh, it doesn't have all-wheel drive, it's not going to be able to launch, it's not going to do this, it's not going to do that. I even had one idiot say that, oh, you're not going to be able to drive it in inclement weather. Are you kidding me? Do you need all-wheel drive for inclement weather? I've driven rear-wheel drive cars in snow and ice. I've driven front-wheel drive cars in snow and ice. I've driven all-wheel drive cars in snow and ice. That's just a matter of being a good driver. If you can't manage that, don't go out when it snows, when it rains, when it ices, when it whatever. If you don't feel confident in your front-wheel drive car, I can't help you. Just go see a driving instructor. Don't worry about what kind of car you have, because you're going to be one of the idiots in the four-wheel drive trucks slid off the road in a ditch somewhere. Happens every day. I see it every time it snows in Northern Virginia. You just can't get around it. People just don't know how to drive sometimes. Anyway, so going back to, it's the fastest out of its competitive set. We don't know what it's going to be priced at right now. Smart Money is about $35. All of its competitors run from anywhere from $35 to $40. So that would be right about where it sits. Now, I think that this pretty much just shows, and we talked about this a few minutes ago, that this car is not just going to be another street car. Now, most of them will never see the track. They'll get purchased, driven around, daily driven. I mean, it's still going to be a Honda. It's still going to be driven to work. You're still going to have the kids driving it around. You're still going to have people purchasing it just because they want a fun daily driver, which is awesome. Everybody should have a fun daily driver. But most of them are never going to see the track. But it's going to be a real track car. I mean, knowing Honda, it's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. It's going to be awesome. But it's not going to be for everybody. The SI is not for everybody. Especially the ones, going back, the high revving, naturally aspirated units that you had to wind out to 5,500 RPMs to get power out of. And the suspension that would rattle your teeth out if you hit a pothole. They weren't for everybody. Over the last couple of years, Honda's diversified that. The last generation SI was a little bit softer setup. The engine, you didn't have to rev so much to get into the power band. It had a little bit more usable around town torque, as I call it. But Honda kind of drove off a lot of its loyal fans by building a softer car for the masses. And because it didn't have a turbocharger, those masses didn't even bother to look at it. So they managed to really upset their core customer base for people that weren't going to buy their car in the first place. Honda's kind of, I'd like to think, learned from that. They've updated their technology. They are using turbochargers in the Type R and the SI now. So we are going to see that turbocharged power. In the SI, you've still got a little bit more high revving character. In the Type R, you're still going to have a little bit more high revving character. Both of these cars go to 7,500 RPMs. That's pretty high for a turbocharged car. Most turbocharged cars, even the quote-unquote high revving ones, max out about 7,000 RPMs. Most of them won't even crack 6,000 or 6,500 RPMs before they redline. So in that regard, this is actually going to feel pretty similar to, the old classic Hondas. You're not going to have high cam VTEC. What you have is the valve deactivation VTEC, but that coupled with the turbocharger actually makes the turbo respond better, more responsive, and actually creates a better setup. They've been perfecting this system for a few years now. It started about 10 years back, I guess, in the RDX. So having the valve deactivation VTEC will actually swirl the intake, helps the turbo spool. That's kind of the simplified version of it. But long story short, it creates a better interaction in a turbocharged vehicle. Going back to high cam VTEC cars, turbocharging the cars was always kind of iffy and never really worked out the way you wanted it to. That's why a lot of people optimized or utilized superchargers for those cars. So you had a lot of companies like Jackson Racing that would build superchargers, and actually that setup was fantastic. Instantaneous belt-driven torque down low to fill the gap until the VTEC crossed over, and then once the VTEC did cross over, you had both, and you had a fantastic car that was a lot of fun to drive. It kept the natural torque curve of the vehicle while giving you more. It's perfect. But the turbocharger setup, everybody's going turbo now. You get better gains, you get more efficiency out of the engine that way, and Honda has an engine with the valve deactivation VTEC that actually will spin that turbo up faster and optimize the way that the turbo works naturally. It's a fantastic setup. I wish other companies would utilize it. But, it all goes back to the thing of, if it's not all-wheel drive, it's not going to be a real sports car, which is hilarious to me. Or at least it's not going to be a real hot hatch. Everybody thinks a hot hatch has to be all-wheel drive these days. Well, the GTI Club Sport was faster around the ring than the Golf R. All-wheel drive is fantastic for doing 0 to 60 pulls. And in the modern auto journalistic world, 0 to 60 pulls are the ultimate spec sheet. The rest of it doesn't matter as long as you're the fastest to 60 or the fastest to 100. Well, the funny part is that all-wheel drive adds a lot of weight, a lot of complexity to the cars. And other than 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 pulls, they don't really give you that much more than a car that's well balanced with a chassis that's well tuned. Skid pad is not really enhanced that much. I mean, braking is not really enhanced that much. Sometimes it's hurt because the car's heavier. You got to put bigger brakes on. If I recall correctly, I believe the GTI Performance Package actually has better braking performance than a Golf R because it has the Golf R's brakes and has several 100 pounds less weight to stop. So, long story short, all-wheel drive is not the competitive advantage that a lot of these armchair racers would think it would be. If all you care about is how fast your car goes from 0 to 60, yes, you're going to have an advantage there. That's why a lot of these tuning companies with the all-wheel drive cars, they will promote their 0 to 60, their quarter-mile times. The cars come out of the hole extremely fast, don't get me wrong. A Golf R with the DSG transmission does 0 to 60 in just in about 4.5 seconds. Same thing with the STI. The Focus RS is all in there as well. I mean, it's very impressive how fast these cars come out of the hole. The Civic Si probably will not have that 0 to 60. Funny thing is, though, is that comparing apples to apples, all things being equal, the Civic will probably run the same quarter mile. It might do the same 0 to 100 time. Reason being is that once you overcome traction, it's about weight and power. If it has the same power and less weight, it's going to catch up and it's going to run those other cars down. Same thing here with the racetrack. Look, all-wheel drive traction is great. You can come out of the corners faster, but if your car is heavier, you have to brake harder. You have to slow the vehicle down more to get it through the turn. Most of these cars, or all of its competitive set, minus the Subaru, are all front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive anyway. So they're going to push to the outside of the corner unless you've got torque vectoring, which most of the competitors don't. The STI has a light version of it. It's not going to be able to drive itself through the corner. You're better off having a front-wheel drive car, saving those couple of 100 pounds, putting a decent limited slip differential in it like Honda did with the Type R, and having a lighter car that will be able to get around the track faster. If all you're doing is stoplight battles at your local car meet, well, guess what? First off, stop racing on the street. Second off, Doesn't matter what you do, you're still going to be beat by a Hellcat or a Demon in the quarter mile. You know, there's lots of other cars that are very, very qualified to take you on 0 to 60 and in the quarter mile. If that's all you've got going for you, which is kind of what these cars have going for them, I mean, you could talk a little bit about the practicality, but like I said, it goes back to driving in inclement weather and things like that. You're kind of in trouble. If your whole banner piece is the all-wheel drive system, especially a car with 300 horsepower. A lot of supercars are going all-wheel drive these days. But when you have 600-700 horsepower, you need it. You got to be able to put it down. Those cars are rear-wheel drive. So, you know, they're just trying to stop from doing a burnout every time they try to launch. On these 300 horsepower front-wheel drive hot hatches, I mean, you're talking about, you know, I understand it's turbocharged, it has the torque, it will definitely light the tires up at a moment's notice. But really, I mean, just with a decent launch and a person that knows how to drive, you're going to be doing just fine front-wheel drive, limited slip differential, and around the track, the lighter car is going to win. That's what it comes down to. One other thing, I put together a short list just to give you an idea what cars, you know, and I just grabbed the ones that I think would make the point. But I made a list of short 5-car list of cars that the Civic Type R is faster around the ring than. First one I put on here was the Porsche 911 997 generation Turbo S. A Turbo S 997 911. Civic Type R is faster than that car. A Pagani Zonda C12S. Pagani Zonda. Beat by a Civic. Think about that. The CLK 63 Black Series. Now, that car is ultimate power. They reworked the suspension tuning in it as well. It's kind of a luxury muscle car, so around the ring, you're not going to expect it to be barnstorming, but just for how powerful that car is and how much potential it has in the hands of the right driver, and I'm sure Mercedes put the right driver in it to go around the ring, the Civic still beat it. 718 came in S. So well, now we're starting to get, you know, we're looking at local, or not local, but recent contemporary cars. A 718 came in S. It was beat by a Civic around the ring. A $35,000 Civic. Tell me that $35,000 Civic isn't worth the money right now. I didn't think so. All right, and finally, just because it blows my mind, the track-prepped Superleggero version of the Gallardo was beat around the Nürburgring by a Civic Type R. Once again, tell me that $35,000 Civic isn't worth the $35,000. So, I mean, that going over that list, and even the CLK DTM, you know, I didn't put it right down the list here. I remember seeing it on the list of cars that are slower. We're looking at some of them. These are supposed to be the ultimate sports car. Porsche sells itself as a sports car building brand. They tell you, oh, this, you know, the Cayenne is the sports car of SUVs, even though it's a Touareg. And they'll happily sell you one with just the normal 3.6 VR6 out of the Touareg in it. The 911 Turbo S, the Cayman S, Pagani Zonda, the Black Edition, the Superleggero. I mean, track day specials, albeit very expensive ones, very expensive track day specials, were beaten by a $35,000 Civic. And people are calling for the Civic's head on a plate for being $35,000. I have to tell you guys, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous discussion to even have. And I understand, we live in the golden age of performance. You can buy a Golf that does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. You can buy a Focus that does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. You can buy, right off the showroom, or you will be able to starting next year, a Dodge Challenger that does 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds and will do the quarter mile in 9.5 seconds. We have an all-wheel drive M5 coming down the pipeline. We have a two track-ready versions of the M4 available right now, or at least one is available, one is coming soon. We have the Corvette ZR1, which the Z06 is already ridiculous. And the Grand Sport is even more ridiculous because it has less power and manages to beat the Z06 everywhere. The ZR1 will be coming with all the track goodies and all the power. And will probably be not much more than 100 fully equipped. Probably will be right around 100 or just under in a base version. We live in the golden age of performance. And what Honda has built and what Honda has done is they have gone back to their roots. They have built a Civic that is light, simple, excellent to drive, and quick. Now, I use the word quick because it's not going to be fast in a straight line. It's not going to be the fastest. It's not going to win any stoplight drag races. It's not going to win any quarter-mile contest. But it's the fastest car for its price around the Nürburgring. And right now, it's the fastest front-wheel drive car around the Nürburgring. And more importantly, it's faster than all of its all-wheel drive competitors around the Nürburgring. I want you to think about that. If all-wheel drive was such a huge advantage, why did it lose? Must not be that big of an advantage. I wonder now if we'll see. Now, obviously, Volkswagen's already figured it out. That's why they built the Club Sport. The Golf R is the all-wheel drive, go anywhere, do anything. It's supposed to be the all-around. For people that actually care about driving, care about speed, and know what's up with a car, they built the Club Sport. That's their fastest GTI around the Nürburgring. That's their fastest Golf around the Nürburgring. That's probably their fastest car around the Nürburgring, period, until you get into their upper brands. They figured it out already. Ford is still trying to tell you that drift mode is the only thing that matters. I remember when they first announced the drift mode button in the Focus RS. It was a joke then. Obviously, it still makes me laugh now. It's a gimmick. That's all it is. It's a gimmick for everybody that wanted to buy Ken Block's Fiesta from Gymkhana, or the Unicorn from Gymkhana, or just wanted to be Ken Block, Tanner Faust, all the guys running the Ford Fiestas and World Rallycross and Global Rallycross. But it's a gimmick. Good cars don't need gimmicks. That's kind of like the hallmark of what makes a good car, is that it stands on its own. And the Type R is that car. The Golf R doesn't really have any gimmicks. It's a good car. I'm not going to tell you it's not. The GTI is a fantastic car. The Type R will blow them both out of the water. The Focus RS it's not a bad car, but obviously Ford felt like it needed gimmicks. And if the manufacturer feels like it needs gimmicks, it's got some issues. But the Civic is going to be an awesome car. I'm very excited for it. I might try to get one. I'm not going to lie. I might try to get one. I come from a history. I've had Integra GSRs. I had a Civic Si. I've had the Accord Coupes. Once the Accord Coupe was the de facto replacement for the Prelude. I'm excited. As an old school Honda guy, I am very, very excited for the Type R. It's proven itself. I think the Nürburgring record proves that the car is going to do exactly what Honda wants it to do. And at this point, I'm usually all for we need to buy good cars. Now, obviously, to keep a car in production, the manufacturer has to be able to sell them. So people, we need people to buy these cars. I don't think we're going to have a shortage of people buying these cars. It's going to be limited production. They're probably going to sell out before they even hit dealerships. But I'll be honest with you. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you buy it. It's going to be awesome. And that's the thing.